All right, guys, welcome back to another video. Pretty excited today. We're going to cover e-scouting with onX. And if you guys have not yet downloaded the app, go to onxhunt.com and you can save yourself 20%. Use the code BRO. So that's just our way of extending a little bit of savings to you guys. So that works for if you just want a single membership or the elite membership, but it'll save you 20% off. So like I said, use promo code BRO. But today, like I said, I'm going to dive in on the computer and go through how we've got planned for Land of the Free, how we're going to go down, break down New Mexico, Colorado, and Montana. And each state's a little bit different, kind of diving into what we're looking for, either public-private border, some of the habitat, or water bedding sources. So here we go. All right, so like I said, we're going to talk about New Mexico and kind of some things that really are sticking out in that area. New Mexico is definitely a different beast for us. It's out of our comfort zone. Normally, like we said, we hunt deep, dark timber, lots of water, a lot of elevation changes. And in New Mexico, Trevor hunted it in 2016, I believe. And then we hunted Arizona and some New Mexico, helped a buddy there last year. And it was totally different than anything we've elk hunted before. So what we're going to really kind of focus in New Mexico is going to be looking for water. Once those water sources are found, then we're going to look at what the road density is there. Then we're going to look for bedding and look for some of that feed side of it. And I'll be honest, I'm a little bit out of my comfort zone. The country we're headed into this year is going to be juniper pinyon country. There's not really any timber, no ponderosa stuff, and it's definitely more of like rim mesa country. So it's really kind of new stuff for us. So I've been spending a lot of time in the New Mexico side of it, trying to figure out where we're going to go, how this all looks, and trying to at least get a good lay of the land and understand travel routes, how to get around in some of the unit. Kind of picked another unit close to where we're at just to kind of get a feel for it. This is kind of what I'm going to dive into. But like I said, the biggest thing is looking for water. So one thing that caught my eye here in this country, it's really kind of popular. I really start on topo first just because things for water really pick out really well, is tanks. They have these guzzlers or man-made tanks that are going to basically hold water. And I kind of understanding what that looks like, I think helps kind of better understand where those elk are going to use. Is trying to find those tanks. So right here, the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to add a waypoint. Slide this thing over and mark out guzzler, and this is water. So scroll down, water source. Like I said earlier, we're gonna, in the scouting phase of this, we're gonna turn to blue. So those aren't, once we're in that area, I'll change the color to mark those waypoints. So it's like, no, I've been there versus, hey, these are blue as a prospect. So we've got water there. We look over just down to the south, think up this Barney Canyon. There's another tank right here. We'll add another waypoint. Drag this one down. Dive in. Scroll back down, water source, change this. Barney tank, save that. Now, in between these two areas, we're gonna put a line on this, zoom out. As the crow flies, those tanks are 3¼ miles apart. Not too bad. That's one that, those elk, I've seen them in eastern Oregon, not at all in this, but they've traveled 6 to 7 miles from where they're feeding to where they're going to bed. So that's a pretty good concentration of water, honestly. From there, now we're going to say, okay, they'll travel to water. What does this look like for where those elk are going to be? And this is where I'm going to flip in on the hybrid mode and kind of dive into some of this terrain side of it. You can really see pretty easily on this north stuff right here, it's some of the thicker country around, and it's literally right in between those water sources. It's a north facing, you've got a draw right here. I could definitely see those elk kind of bedding up in this head end. So I'm going to add another waypoint here into this. Slide down. Bedding area, blue. Change the name. Possible bedding that pops up. I think kind of any one of these areas is definitely of interest. And I think this is going to be one of the first places, like if I was to hunt this unit, I'm going to come in, go to the guzzler, look at the tracks, see what their sign is for activity. And then if one of these guzzlers are not, or got heavier tracks, that's where I'm going to start hunting. And then the other side of it, right here, we've got that burn layer on. Here in 2019, here was a little spot fire. Oh no, sorry. This is one of those things. This is actually a timber cut. So they came in here and cut timber in 2019. That's one of those possible areas with the monsoons. They've got pretty good regrowth just from this last year that they could use this area. So now we have food, water, and bedding. It's definitely a good starting point to kind of jump into this country. And you look at the road density. Here's a main road, and click on that, figure out it's operational, year-long gravel or base material, and suitable for passenger cars. So that's a good, people can drive that in and out. And then once you kind of jump off here, depending on the travel management plan or what the area is, definitely want to look through and see what is legal, what's not for travel. This one in particular shows a 2-track. Depending on the area, that may be open to 4-wheeler traffic. It may be open for us, like we'll jump on mountain bikes, travel a lot of these roads. So this is a really good prospect to start, I think, in some of that juniper pinyon country. The other side of it, and this is kind of out of the comfort zone, is this is an area where glassing is going to be super effective. This is where if you can get to a high point, you can see a lot of country, spending those early mornings and late evenings trying to glass while those elk are up and moving. And you can also get a good sound location from there. So one thing that caught my eye when I first looked at this is this knob right here is one of the higher points around, a couple hundred feet at least in elevation. Not too bad of a hike. You could check out this tank right here, climb up this ridge top. We'll look at this real quick. Line distance. That's going to be, just kind of head up this finger ridge, around the knob, through the saddle, and up to this point. This glassing trail, and we're going to turn that one blue. Go ahead and hit save. That up to that glassing, it's just about 1,000-yard hike. Pretty easily attainable. Jump in there a half hour before daylight, shoot up there, and you can be up on top of that ridge at daylight looking for points. So like I said, in New Mexico, the biggest thing I kind of focus on is going to be water source, then bedding, and what that food looks like. And then outside of that, trying to really focus in on some of those glassing points or points where you can locate bulls from. And one tactic that we're definitely going to use a lot in this country this year is going to be night bugling, road bugling. We'll have basically a planned route for an evening going out and just trying to locate in many different bulls. And it's one thing that's really cool. All this stuff, like I've talked about, that I'm doing online, it automatically syncs to the phone app. So I can pull up Onyx and say, hey, there's a guzzler. Let's go bugle that tonight. See if those bulls are in there watering and check that out. And so that's kind of what I'm really excited for. This is a new challenge, something that we're really excited to just go hunt some different country, that juniper pinyon stuff, and I don't know, maybe find a big one, maybe just find a legal one. That's all that matters. But excited about New Mexico and kind of pushing us. We talk about a lot of times getting outside our comfort zone and challenging you guys to go do that, and we're doing that exactly this year. Real quick, while we're talking in New Mexico, one thing that I talked about before is burns. This is a definite area where I think looking at this, the more I look at it, has a really good interest in where I would want to be hunting, because you have this historic wildfire. This thing was in 2017, which started July 14th. So that is prime couple 3-year-old burn. If they've got regrowth in there, those elk are going to be feeding in this. We've got water. We've got a bunch of broken terrain where those elk can bed. And even coming off of this, we've got private land borders. So those elk, maybe dropping down to feed in the private or in the burn, and then come up in here for water. So it's a really good starting point. We'll kind of dive into that when we get down there in New Mexico. Next up is Montana. We'll go talk about Montana. We're really focused on those public-private borderland stuff and all the kind of tough-to-access areas.
No worries over nickels and dimes or a 9-to-5 grind. I gotta get loose sometimes. In trouble